Thank you, Professor Bandar. You stuck to time. May I now invite Dr. Harshana Suriperuma, representing the NPP.
Ivan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, and good morning to you all. I suppose, Duminda, we would have had many sessions of this nature when there's an election nearby. We would have listened to this type of rosy stories or fairy tales, lot of graphs as to this is how we are going to implement. But look at the results. It's boiling down to implementation. It's about credibility of political leaders to deliver what they preach. If you look at the Auditor General's statement, my presentation will have two components, just to brief. One is why we are here today as a nation and what's our plan as we go forward. Auditor General of the country is mentioning since 2015 to 22, 8 trillion rupees government has borrowed as for project loans, of which 75% is unaccounted for. Our international counterparts, I'm sure they are listening. This is where the money is going. Duminda, representing auditors, it will be an insult to auditors when Auditor General has reported 75% of the funding is unaccounted for. We are here listening to a team who are answerable for that. That's one angle. Madam Kasturi, coming from the private sector, in your organization, if you have managers, key managers, who have never delivered the budget, overspent on their budget, on their expenses, overloaded factories with staff, never delivered what they promised, would you interview them again to ask what are they going to do within the next 5 years? What would your shareholders think if you do that one? What would your employees think who would look up to you if you do that? But here we are today, doing the same thing, listening to failed politicians and their stories as to how are we going to do it again within the next 5 years. That's why a change of culture is required in Sri Lanka as to how we approach this as a nation. Central Bank printed enormous provision of the previous Central Bank Act prevented the Monetary Board to take an independent decision as if there were competent officials there, appointees there, to say no to a minister. When the government is asking, if the Secretary to the Treasury is asking to print money, that's why there are many members, not just one, in the Monetary Board to say no, not to be overwhelmed by intimidation of politicians. That is the change of culture we need to look at, not just by changing legislations. Few months back, the same Secretary to the Treasury said, if you are going to increase 10,000 rupees, we have to increase VAT. We don't have money. 2 months later, when the government is saying we are going to increase salaries again, the same state officials are saying, oh yes, the government revenue has now increased. We can ask IMF to increase our provisions for increasing salaries. We need a change of culture where state officials will be able to stand up on their own for what they truly believe, not to be lip servants to the politicians. That's the change of culture that we are talking of. Let's get quickly to the presentation. We'll move on to the next slide, please. It's about the future of this country. We have seen promises that were saying, I don't know how many of you all came today in a Volkswagen made in Sri Lanka. I'm not sure whether the ambassador from the German embassy is representing us. These were, which one should I press? This one? Okay, thank you. So, whether the German ambassador or the diplomats will vouch for these stories that was told, misled people to win elections. Google balloons, I can see it's hovering all over Sri Lanka, and we are enjoying free internet. Now, in one angle, some are saying we have to bring an end to the menace of subsidies, whereas the same politicians are going and leaders are going and distributing handouts. Party leaders are saying, senior officials saying that they are funded through illegitimate sources. Should we continue this political culture in Sri Lanka? We are saying we have ended queues. If you go and looked at the visa queue yesterday, this would have been your picture. Millions of Sri Lankans are trying to run away from this country. This is the country these failed policies and politicians have created. Don't we need to change that? So that's why. And the political culture, once again, the Central Cultural Fund, there's a report saying, there's allegations saying so much of misappropriation. It has come to Parliament. Where are the outcomes? Is this the culture that we want to continue? We can see a few weeks back, a banking seminar was called, and banking senior officials were advised on governance side. I couldn't stop laughing when I see who was on the stage. And when the head of the state, under the privileges of Parliament, is abusing the judiciary, where can you expect the rule of law? This is the change that we expect for Sri Lanka. This is the change people of Sri Lanka is asking for. That's what NPP is all about. It's about the leadership. It's about the purpose-driven policies. It's about a team with an unblemished track record to deliver with experience and expertise. It's about clean politics, accountability, governance, and transparency in our implementation. It's about rule of law that we are going to deliver, allow businesses to ensure you will have a level playing field and fairness in terms of conduct, in terms of by taking away the impunity given to politicians, and the same law will be applied equally to them as well as to you, not to rob the business opportunities that you have. It's built on a bedrock of zero tolerance for corruption. When the highest level of the country is tarnished and tainted with corruption, you cannot expect the ministers, the cabinet, the secretaries, the board of directors of state institutions to say no to corruption. There will be zero tolerance for corruption in the policies that we implement. Government will play the role as the facilitator, provide the necessary resources for the businesses to grow to the full potential that you deserve to be. This is the opportunity that we will create. It will be through a wave of digitization. We will bring resources together. We will connect entities, connect businesses, connect individuals to take Sri Lanka forward.
Dr. Suripir, we have.
I'll take a few more seconds.
Yes,
I'll
please.
stop now. And it will be by creation through the production economy, which I will explain. We will connect Sri Lanka to global value chains, allow you to thrive as businesses to the best potential of yours, but at the same time deliver social equity and inclusion also. Let's discuss more detail when we get a time.